going on, guys? Today we're checking our fluids. Engine oil, brake fluid, coolant, water for the windscreen washers. I think that is all. This car has power steering, which is electric, so there is no fluid there to check. I'm going to see if I can check the gearbox oil. Some transmissions are closed units, so we'll see how that goes. Should be able to check it on this. First, I want to point out a couple of things. All oil, brake fluid, power steering fluids, coolant, all that sort of stuff, they're all different for different manufacturers, for different engine types and different applications. So you have to make sure that you are using the right oils and waters and coolants and whatever else in your car. So you always got to check with the manufacturer or a reputable company like Repco. For the windscreen washers, the fluid for that is simply water with some windscreen soap. Something like Bugs Bars or something like that, which you'll be able to get from Repco. The next would be coolant. And there are a couple of different types. Every manufacturer has their own type. There are some purple ones, blue ones, red ones, orange ones, green ones, you name it. There is a color of coolant for a different application and a different engine type. The most common two are simply green coolant and red coolant. Don't worry about what they actually do. It's not important at this stage. Just know that you need your appropriate color for your car. Now, don't go simply by what's in your car because someone may have put the wrong stuff in there to begin with. It's very common for people to do that. Now, mixing different coolants can create crystallization in your cooling system, which can cause some issues. Along with other things, if it's an aluminium block and you use the wrong coolant, it can have issues with the aluminium, things like that. So, make sure you are checking with your manufacturer or, as I said, someone like Repco. Brake fluid, a couple of different types again. Most commonly, .3 brake fluid is used. That is the same for brake or clutch. Engine oil, once again, is different depending on your engine's application and your engine type. The type of oil depends on what climate you are in. Also, the conditions that the car is running in, whether it's a racing application or a daily driver. It depends on how old the engine is, what the manufacturer's specifications are. It really does depend on a lot, and that's not even touching the surface of what engine oil is designed for. There are so many different types. You have to make sure you're getting the right one, or at least something really close. If you put the wrong engine oil into your car, you are likely to cause catastrophic damage. I've seen this before, and it was an engine replacement that needed to be done because of this. So just make sure that the engine oil that you use is according to the manufacturer's specifications. Whew, talking is fucking hard. Now, what about gearbox oil? Yes, it's different. Once again, check with the manufacturer's specifications or with a place like Repco. They will have all the information that you need. Power steering fluid, even though my car doesn't have it, is the same as some transmission fluids, but not all transmission fluids are made the same, nor are power steering fluids. Some are a synthetic base, some are not. The power steering fluid, once again, should be checked with your manufacturer or Repco, and then just topped up accordingly. As I just mentioned before with power steering fluid, transmission fluid is also variable. Depends on the manufacturer. Depends on the depends on the transmission that is in your car and what is it and how it is designed. So, check with your manufacturer. Check with Repco. They will tell you. They will also sell you the right stuff. Okay, so to check engine oil, have to rip the dipstick out and give it a wipe. Drop dipstick back in, rip it out again, and have a look to see where the oil mark is. If it is on one of these three lines, depending what one it is, the top one is obviously full. Then we have a mid section, which is like you probably should put some oil in. And then you have the low mark, which is like, top me up, man. Getting low, getting thirsty here. So simply top up the oil with the manufacturer specified oil and then check your dipstick again. I would only be putting in around about 500 mil at a time, just to be safe that you don't go over, because we don't want to go over because it can cause some issues later on. Next up, we'll check our washer fluid. That's not really a thing. There is no dipstick or anything, there's no level. You just put stuff in it, put water and soap in it until it comes out, or you can see it at the top. You know it's full that way. Anyway, coolant, make sure the car is cool before you remove the radiator cap or the coolant bottle cap or anything like that. This is because when a car is hot, the water system is pressurized, and when you release the cap, it releases when you take the cap off, it releases pressure and goes, and you will burn yourself. It's not fun. Not fun at all. Don't burn yourself. Leave the cap on until the system pressurizes. Leave the cap on until the system depressurizes and the car cools down, and then you can remove it to check. But in the case of these newer cars, they have a see-through coolant bottle, or header tank as they are called, and it actually has little lines with marks on it saying max, minimum. So if it's on minimum, got to top it up. If it's on max, it's at max, don't got to do anything. Now, if it has the correct coolant already in it, you can just top it up with water if it's just a little bit that it needs. If it needs a lot, you're better off putting coolant in it as well. But if it's just, a couple of 100 mil, just top it up with water and you will be fine. Now, to check if the coolant system is depressurized, a simple little trick is to grab the radiator hose, just give it a squeeze. If it's nice and soft like this one is, then there is no pressure. It's good to go. However, if you go to squeeze it and it's rock hard like this air intake is, then there's a lot of pressure in there and you should not open that cap. Now for our brake fluid, which on this and many other manual cars is our clutch fluid as well. They are in the one reservoir. So simply, this has a max and a min line on it as well, which you can just visually inspect. Otherwise, you should take the cap off and see if this is dirty at all. Visually inspect it to see if it looks dark. It should be a gold color. Like if this is a dark color, like a black or a dark green even, then we know it is probably time for a change. You can also get, where is she? Lady. Shit. Just dropped the Stanley knife. Alright, well, I thought I had a brake fluid tester, but I don't know, must have left it on my old job. Never mind. So pretty much a brake fluid tester just tests the condition of the fluid which is in the car. And that's got a couple of lights, green, yellow, red. Red obviously means change, yellow means you probably should change me now anyway, and green means nah, you're good. I can keep working for a little bit. If your brake fluid is low, there's one of two reasons that is causing that. You, one, have a leak, which you should be getting that fixed because that's goddamn dangerous. Get that brake fluid leak fixed. Number two is that your brakes are worn. If they are worn, it means that more fluid has been brought into the brake caliper area, which means it's been taken out of the reservoir. And then once you replace your brakes and push that piston back to relieve some of that fluid from the caliper, it will then rise again. So you have actually not lost any fluid. So if your brake fluid is low, check your brake pads for one, and the disc rotor to see if they're at an acceptable level. Or have a look around the car to make sure you're not leaking brake fluid, because that, like I said, is goddamn dangerous. If you're leaking brake fluid, your brakes aren't working properly. Unfortunately, I don't have an auto car here that I can check, but pretty much I'll run through it with you. For one, find the dipstick. It will have 2 or 3 marks on it, similar to what the oil dipstick looks like. You will run the car in park or neutral. Yes, the car running in park or neutral. Make sure the handbrake is on. While the car is running in park or neutral, you will pull the dipstick out, give it a wipe. Put it back in and pull it out again. Wherever that mark is, it should be a little bit of a window where there's a little crosshatch type shading. If it is inside that window, you're pretty much good to go. If it is under that, probably means that you need to top it up a little bit. There are some auto cars that are unable to be checked without having a hoist or the appropriate tooling to do so. So if it's got a dipstick, sure, check it. If not, probably better off to go to a mechanic, because they've probably got the tools and they know what they're doing. So that's a wrap with how to check your fluids. Now, I can only show you what I can show you on my own car. I don't have access to any other car at the moment that I can show you. So this will give you a rough guideline on what to check and how to check them. It's not that complicated. It's just about knowing the levels and what to look for when checking these things. The gearbox on my car, it seems to be a closed unit, so I would have to drain it, check with the manufacturers to see how much oil it takes, and then fill it from the top. I can't see a level check on it anywhere. If anyone knows anything about this particular gearbox on the PJ Astra Turbo 6-speed manuals, let me know in the comments below, and I'll put a video up if there is one. Otherwise, we'll have to wait until I change the gearbox fluid, and that way you can see how to drain it and how to refill it. Until then, we'll leave it at that. Until next time, stay safe, keep greasy, and have fun.